Hey everybody out there, my name is Sean Joy from TechRaptor, aka Dragnix on YouTube, and this is Locus. It's an early access game for $9.99. It was featured as one of the best of PAX by TechRaptor in terms of some of the things that we ran into, so I wanted to take a look at the game. It's a tower defense meets Pokemon game, but before I begin, I want to make sure you guys know this key was obtained from the developer for the purposes of this video. Now, you see the missions that I've completed here. I've completed every mission that the game has to offer at this point. Again, it's in early access. Now, here is the town. You could buy stuff here. Don't worry about it. That's, stuff that come later on in terms of quests and things like that. Again, early access. So I'm going to do the Roaring Fog here. Suggested level 21. You get experience and gold every time you complete a mission. And now I can select my guardians, which are my towers in this case. Now, towers have some unique aspects to them, whether it be the type, whether it be the powers that you can have on each guardian in question. And so I'm going to choose ones that are close to the level cap in question so that I could show you sort of what it would be a fair fight. I could choose my highest level ones, but I don't think that would be very good for the sake of this video. All right, so a little bit of a loading. Doesn't actually show you the loading percentage. That sort of sucks, but, things happen. Things occur. All right, so you see there is the places I could place the towers. At the bottom middle there, you see that sort of flame symbol. That is your focus. Focus is used to do actions in the game. So, for example, if I wanted to put down a Pokemon, a Guardian here, I have to use a focus to put it on. Now, I'm showing you guys a little bit about each skill here. So, for example, Kando has Keen and Luminous. Keen making people vulnerable. Luminous making people deal a little bit more damage when they're near people. Vipit, for example, makes targets unstable. And Sly abilities, which is another ability, do a little bit more. Now, each type seems to have their own sort of je ne sais quoi, per se. So, for example, Fire, very explosive, very, attack-oriented. Now, there is evolving in this game. As you saw earlier on, there were stars next to each character. And so, if you have more stars on a character, that means you can evolve them into their higher forms. So, 1 star means that, okay, that's its base form. 2 stars, 3 stars, and sometimes even 4 stars. Now, first thing you will really notice is the game starts slow. I think the base speed of the game really needs to be improved because, again, I found myself always putting it up to 2x and 4x speed because of the slowness here. I don't think, unless if you're really doing something else in the meanwhile, which you could be for this game, it's not like you can't keep up, at least in my opinion. Now, I have played tower defense before, defense grid, so it is a little bit different. Now, you saw there I actually upgraded a skill. So besides evolving, you can use your focus to upgrade skills in terms of the 3 main stats: attack, range, and speed. Attack is the amount of damage you do, range is how far the person can reach, and speed is obviously how fast you hit. Now, you're trying to protect your goat there, and that health bar, it really never goes down. One of the things that you have to understand about Soul Focus is something I will get into later on, and it's difficulty, because it's not up there at this point. Now, this fight will be a little bit more level in terms of the sort of fight that I'm putting up, mostly because of the fact that, again, I'm at the same levels as things. If I'm using the same characters or using the ones that I keep on upgrading, it can become one-sided rather quickly. Now, there's also powers that you can use in the bottom left-hand corner there. You can upgrade sort of enhance your guys' skills for 60 seconds, as well as take all the damage that your goat is taking, as you see there, and turn it into health. Now, in my experience, you don't really need to use that, but it can be useful at higher levels in terms of wave 18, 20. And I've sped it up to what I think is a reasonable speed here at this point. The goat's getting attacked, but my flame guy is dealing damage rather nicely. Now, I like the concept of the game. In particular, I like the skills and the abilities. I like the fact that, each creature, each guardian has their own sort of uniqueness, and you can really sort of expose combos with it, like the vulnerability and then sort of poisoning them, or slowing them down, and then sort of taking your character who has got fast speed or fast attack and sort of exploiting it at that point. Really, In that case, it is sort of a match made in heaven in terms of if it balances rather nicely. In this case, it does a decent job, but I'm not really in trouble at any point here. I mean, even at a base level, I know my fire guy is at a little bit higher level, but even at lower levels, even like level 15 at this point for this kind of mission, I'm not feeling the pain. I'm not feeling anything in terms of it. I want to talk about the visuals a little bit because the visuals to me are sort of, haphazard. While you have the Guardians, very nice artwork, very stylized, you have the creatures here that are, sort of making their way here. They feel like general cannon fodder, but more so that they just don't stand out. I know you want them to be minions, but, give them some uniqueness, give them some, life. I feel like that is something the game could really work on in terms of its aesthetic. It doesn't help that the music is the same track over and over again, that sort of drum beat that you will get sick of sooner or later. As you see, I'm sort of coming to the end of this run with no real problems. Again, reasonable in terms of the execution. I didn't really run into any problems. All right, so victory. You gain experience as well as materials and gold after every of the regular runs at this point. Now, I'm going to go into the menu here and show you a little bit about everything else in the game. Basically, this is your Guardian collection. As you see, I got Kimu here. I can learn a little bit about him. I can favorite him. I can show him your guys' levels, focus costs. I can also upgrade his stats at this point. Now, there is a wide variety of skills that are available, and I do like the fact that, again, you can sort of mold your own character. The evolutions don't seem to always have the same skills from what I've seen, at least from, first glance. And so you can sort of, keep on evolving or getting Guardians that, really do what you want them to do. Now, the types, again, they're all, based on, emotions. At least I think they're based off emotions, come to think of it. And I could also disenchant Guardians, as you saw there, to get more materials. A little bit of a bug there. Unfortunately, there are some things that don't work in this, especially in the disenchant screen. I'll pass that along to the developers. You could use the materials you get to create new Guardians. And each level of the stars that you see there will create a different Guardian. So, for example, if I use all level 3s, you'll notice that the creature I created was a level 3. I could evolve it up to 3 times. I could also upgrade my materials to the next level if I have 3 of them. Now, if you use 3 of the same, I think you get a creature that has a 4-star, but I don't remember that off the top of my head. That may be at this point. And I can always buy more material with the coins that I did. I don't really need to. I mean, honestly, only if I'm really impatient. Now, I'm going to show you exactly where I think the game's flaw is right now. And even though there's obviously an early access and there's improvement that could be made, I think the main problem with Locus at this point is balance, in terms of it is ridiculously easy to sort of game the system, and in particular, sort of just exploit the enemy in question. Now, you'll notice the team that I'm picking, the most powerful monster I have on my team here isn't anyone in particular on the right side. Even the levels, they don't really mean anything. It's Boundip that is my pride and glory right now. Now, you're probably wondering, well, why is that? What makes that little mouse any different from anybody else? Well, remember how I said skills? And remember how I told you guys about focusing and things like that? Well, we're going to see exactly why the mouse is better, a little bit better than some of the other monsters in this game, because especially on regular fights. Now, you'll notice something with my focus when the mouse starts attacking. It's growing. It's growing at a tremendous rate. Yeah, you see, the thing about that little mouse Guardian in question is that for every attack he does with his special ability, he gains 4% focus. Now, remember, focus is used to upgrade, evolve, so on and so forth. And you notice there that I actually didn't bother with attack or range. I just put up his speed, meaning I can hit him faster. on the focus. I'm slowing it down for you guys to see, you know, I'm gaining focus at a reasonable rate at this point. And my speed goes up every time the target is hit. So my speed is increasing with every hit to the point where he's just a machine gun. Look at this. Look at this guy. He's just hitting it, and look at my focus just going ridiculous at this point. And of course, because my focus is growing at such a high rate, I'm upgrading my creatures well beyond what I should be able to at this stage of the game. Notice how, like, not many creatures have even gotten to the second phase of this level. And that's because, again, this is supposed to be a long-range sort of, okay, how many waves can you get? You're supposed to be able to get up to 200 waves, which I think I could have done in this round, but I honestly wanted to see how far I could go without really trying after I got all the upgrades. You see, that's the main problem with Soul Focus, is the fact that in terms of the tower defense genre, you want some strategy to it. You don't want to just sort of let things go. And while you're upgrading, you want to make strategic upgrades. You want it to be based on the situation. Here, there's an obvious strategy at times that is way too forward, way too easy to exploit, to the point where you're probably overpowered or overleveled based on what you're going to do. In fact, in this run, I get everybody at 999. I get everybody evolved to the top level. I actually just walk away and see how long I can go. Now, there's also another problem with this, and this one in particular, and you don't see it yet, but I'm going to sort of do a little bit of cut jumps here to show you. Once you get to like level, like, let's say wave 80 or 90, you start to see performance issues with everything that's going on screen. In particular, when you have high range and everybody's firing along with all the monsters on screen, I was able to get it down to about a 5 FPS. Now, obviously that is an extreme situation with this sort of thing, but it's possible. 5 FPS, yeah, I'm gonna say that Total Biscuit would probably have a problem with that, let alone, you know, I having a problem with it. Now, don't get me wrong, when the game runs in its sort of normal mode, and I use air quotes there, it runs reasonably. I don't want to say it's 60 FPS, it's around 50 from what I saw. But I gotta take into account that, okay, Fraps, for example, the program I'm using, does take a little bit of a performance hit. So there are some performance issues with the game. Again, I expect that in early access, but I do wonder the early access model for this, what purpose it serves. Besides, you know, finances and things like that. The fact of the matter is that this is a very precarious situation in terms of balance. User feedback on games like, let's say, for example, multiplayer games, in terms of strategies and things like that, feature sets and things like that, yeah, I can understand. But in particular with the balance situation here, it's very, very one-sided towards the player, and I'm really concerned that if they don't address it, it's gonna be a walk in the park. It's gonna sort of negate some of the strengths of the genre. I always felt like defense grade, for example, is the one that I always use for tower defense, that it really shines in terms of, you know, strategic placement, you know, really figuring out what your enemy is doing. And unfortunately, here I don't even have to bother with like sort of tight matchups. I don't have to really bother with anything like that. I just have to, you know, play the game, click on a bunch of buttons, and it works. All right, I'm gonna cut a little bit forward here, show you guys a little bit of what's happening down the line, so give me 1 second. All right, so we're a little bit further down the line, and you can see that I've upgraded my guys a little bit. I'm on wave 110. Yeah, pretty much everybody, with the exception of the reindeer on the top right there, can reach the left side of the screen, so you just see a barrage of attacks there. I've got three characters that are maxed out. I didn't even bother to max out my attack on the focus guy because, well, I actually want to keep him alive a little bit more to earn more focus. So I want to make that sort of the last upgrade I have. But, I mean, just look at this. I mean, they're not even getting past, you know, the first line. Remember, there are 4 lines that they got to get through here. And for a good chunk of this first part, after I got like the speed upgrade, they didn't even make it to the first portal there. And that's a problem. I mean, really, I'm just sitting here going, you'll notice that I'm not even bothering picking up that gem that fell. Why should I? I actually literally can walk away and just sort of let it go at this point. And considering that this earns experience and this earns gold, it's sort of easy to just let this go, walk off, and it's like, oh, free experience, free gold. I don't even have to bother. It's why endless modes don't usually have that on them. It's more so for a challenge. But in this case, it does, and it does hurt the sort of RPG elements of this game. Because I first tried this, earlier on with my creatures, and they were then overpowered, and I actually had to go and get other creatures to sort of experience the game at a balanced level. All right, I think I've given my thoughts and a little bit of what Soul Locus has to offer. Again, I will always encourage people to leave their comments in the comment section below. Again, what you guys would like to see changed, what you think of Soul Locus, and again, realize that this is an early access. I know there's another article with this about to come out on TechRaptor as well, so always read that for a second opinion. But this is Dragnix, aka Sean Joy from TechRaptor, signing out. Hope you guys all have a wonderful day, and keep on gaming.